picture this. You are sitting at an incredibly elegant Canadian wedding reception.
Right, like the crystal glasses are clinking, perfect lighting, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. The centerpieces are flawless, and the bride is wearing this stunning, meticulously crafted luxury gown. The whole room is just the picture of formal perfection.
Oh, totally. A very pristine, untouchable kind of vibe.
Yeah, but then the music shifts, and suddenly you watch as the guests pull out physical cash, walk right up to the bride, and start physically pinning dollar bills directly onto that delicate, incredibly expensive fabric.
It is quite the visual shock if you aren't anticipating it. I mean, you have this highly formal atmosphere, and in a matter of seconds, it transforms into something that feels, well, wildly informal.
It feels almost chaotic, like a culture clash happening right in the middle of a ballroom. So today, we are doing a deep dive into the mechanics of this phenomenon.
Ah, the dollar dance. Or the money dance, depending on who you ask.
Right. And specifically how it plays out at Canadian weddings. Our mission for this deep dive is to figure out how this centuries-old survival tactic has evolved into a highly engineered, fashion-conscious, and now digitally driven spectacle.
Because what looks, on the surface, like a simple party trick is actually a really complex social mechanism. It's this fascinating intersection of cultural history, community economics, and structural fashion engineering.
Okay, let's unpack this. The core concept here is that at a certain point in the reception, guests are invited to give money directly to the newlyweds.
Yeah, they might pin it to the clothes or maybe slip it into decorative pouches.
Or they might essentially pay for a brief few-second dance with the bride or groom.
Yeah.
But I have to push back immediately here because we need to talk about the elephant in the room.
Oh, I know where this is going. Let's hear it.
Okay, so in today's economy, inviting your friends and family to a wedding, which, likely already costs them a hotel, travel, a gift off the registry, and then asking them to literally form a line and hand you straight cash. I mean, to an outsider, does this not just come across as a blatant cash grab? It feels like a real-life, in-person Kickstarter campaign, but with the added social pressure of a flash mob.
That is the most common critique, for
Yep.
sure. And it's a totally understandable reaction if you are viewing it purely through a modern, individualistic lens.
Right, because it feels transactional.
Exactly. But the friction you're feeling comes from looking at this tradition out of its original context. If we connect this to the bigger picture, to understand why it's not a shakedown, you have to look at the underlying mechanism of why it started in the first place.
Okay, take me back. Where does this actually come from?
So based on the sources we're looking at, we see the roots of this in numerous early immigrant communities. We're talking Polish, Ukrainian, Portuguese, and Balkan groups.
Okay, wow, so very European.
Initially, yes, but there are also massive global influences from Filipino, Mexican, and Cuban cultures. Now, picture an immigrant community arriving in a new country a century ago. They don't have established credit.
Right, they are entirely locked out of the traditional financial system.
Exactly. The local banks are absolutely not going to hand out a business loan or a mortgage to a young, newly arrived couple just starting out.
So what do? Just rely on family?
They create their own financial system. The money dance didn't start as a fun bonus to pay for a luxury honeymoon. It functioned as a decentralized social insurance policy. It was literally mutual aid.
Wait, really? Like a community fund?
Yes. In Polish and Ukrainian traditions, when guests pinned money to the bride while dancing, they were effectively acting as a community bank. They were pooling small amounts of capital so this new family could buy tools, secure a lease, or even start a farm.
I see. It's the community physically saying, we are investing in your union because your survival is tied to ours.
Precisely. And you see that exact same instinct playing out globally. In Filipino weddings, guests will pin bills onto both the bride and the groom, literally covering them in the community's financial support.
Which is such a powerful visual.
It really is. And in Mexican and Cuban traditions, the dancing guests shower the couple with money. The mechanism is identical across these totally different geographies. It's collective funding disguised as a celebration.
So what we are seeing in Canada today makes perfect sense. With such a diverse, multicultural population, you have all these distinct global traditions basically living side by side.
Yeah, they haven't just survived. They've blended into this widely appreciated staple at modern weddings, even for couples who might not strictly belong to those specific heritages.
It's a prime example of cultural adoption.
Absolutely. When a tradition solves a problem and does it in a joyful, communal way, It naturally spreads beyond its original borders.
But that brings us to a really interesting sociological friction. I mean, I understand the history now. I get the decentralized loan concept.
Right.
But modern Canadian couples are not usually relying on $50 bills pinned to a dress to, like, buy a tractor or survive the winter. They usually have bank accounts.
Very true.
So why go through the effort of coordinating this today? Why keep the tradition alive when the original survival need is completely gone?
Well, that's where the shift from pure economics to entertainment and memory making happens. Think about the structure of a standard wedding reception. For the guests, it can sometimes be a surprisingly passive experience.
Oh, for sure. You sit at table 4, you eat your chicken, you watch the speeches.
Yeah, you watch the first dance from a distance.
It can feel a bit like you're just an audience member watching a live performance of someone else's romance.
Exactly. But the dollar dance completely flips that dynamic.
Right.
It forces interaction. It turns the guests from spectators into active participants.
Because you actually have to get up and do something.
Right. You are physically pulled onto the dance floor, laughing and interacting one-on-one with the couple for 10 or 15 seconds. It completely breaks down the formality of the room.
And beyond the interactive element, there's another layer here that I found completely fascinating in our research. It has nothing to do with culture and nothing to do with money.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
The visual payoff, the photography aspect.
Yes. Wedding photographers absolutely love this tradition.
And when you think about the mechanics of a good photograph, it makes perfect sense. Usually wedding photos are, highly staged. Everyone is posed, smiling stiffly.
But the money dance.
Yeah.
You have a crowd of cheering people crowding the floor, upbeat music playing, cash physically flying through the air or being pinned.
The couple is just laughing in the center of this chaotic circle.
It guarantees high energy, raw emotion, and dynamic movement.
Mm-hmm.
You aren't posing anyone, you're capturing pure, unscripted joy. It often becomes the anchor visual of the entire wedding album.
Which brings me to a massive contradiction. Wait. If people are jumping around in a chaotic flash mob for this incredible photo op,
Yeah.
and guests are literally pulling out sharp metal safety pins in the middle of a dancing crowd, how is a $5,000 silk dress surviving this?
It sounds like a disaster waiting to happen, right?
We're talking about incredibly delicate fabrics here. Tulle, chiffon, lace. Stabbing them with safety pins while moving seems like a recipe for a destroyed gown.
This is where the tradition collides with practical structural engineering. It's not a free-for-all. There's a highly tactical execution to making sure the dress and the bride survives the dance intact.
You essentially have to engineer the wardrobe for battle, like tactical bridal gear.
In a way, yes. Let's look at the actual physics of this. If you just take a safety pin and attach a thick stack of $20 bills to a single layer of silk, the weight of the paper and the tension of the pin dragging downward will immediately tear the fabric.
Because the silk just cannot handle the load-bearing weight.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting. So how do they prevent the tear?
Brides who know they're participating in this tradition actually plan their wardrobe around it. They look for gowns with strong lace support and reinforced fabric layers.
Oh.
Yeah, think of the heavier lace patterns not just as decoration, but acting almost like rebar in concrete. The reinforced threads provide a structural grid that disperses the tension of the pin across a wider area of the dress, preventing a localized tear.
Rebar! That is brilliant. It's literal fashion engineering. But what if a bride simply refuses to let a pin anywhere near the dress, regardless of the rebar lace?
That's where we see the introduction of secondary structural layers. Brides will use protective barriers.
Like what?
Things like decorative money aprons, customized bridal sashes made of heavy-duty satin, or even wearing a cape specifically designated as pin-safe.
Oh, that makes so much sense. So the sash takes all the structural load of the pins and the cash, completely protecting the delicate gown underneath.
It creates a buffer zone.
That's so smart. And luxury bridal inspiration platforms like Weddizer are actually guiding couples on these exact mechanics.
Oh, definitely.
They advise on swapping into comfortable dancing shoes, securing the veil with dozens of hidden bobby pins so it doesn't get yanked backward in the crowd.
Or even having a separate, flexible reception dress, specifically designed for this high-energy impact.
It just shows how deeply this custom dictates the actual logistical timeline of the wedding day. But it's not just the dress that needs managing, right? It's the crowd.
Oh, crowd control is huge.
If you have 150 guests with safety pins, how do you stop it from turning into a dangerous mob?
That responsibility is entirely placed on the DJ or the MC. They're basically the air traffic controllers of the money dance.
Okay, so what's their strategy?
Step one is always an announcement over the microphone. The MC explains the tradition, its cultural meaning, and the rules of engagement. They tell people exactly where to line up, how long to dance, and where to pin.
Because to our earlier point, if you have guests from outside the culture, you don't want them panicking, thinking the bride is being attacked.
Or, conversely, stepping up and pinning money directly to her veil where it could pull her hair.
Ouch, yeah. Communication prevents chaos.
Exactly. Then, the DJ controls the pacing with the music. They'll play upbeat cultural tracks or high-energy romantic hits. And the golden rule here is to keep the interactions short.
Right, because if every guest gets a full 3-minute dance, a 150-person wedding would be trapped in this activity for hours. The momentum of the night would completely die.
So it's rapid fire. 10 seconds, pin the bill, quick twirl, next person.
It keeps the energy electric and prevents a bottleneck on the dance floor.
Exactly.
Okay, so the fashion engineering protects the dress and the DJ protects the timeline. But there is a much larger modern societal hurdle looming over this entire tradition.
I think I know where you're going with this. You're talking about the media of the currency itself.
Yes. If nobody carries physical cash anymore, this tradition is dead in the water, right? I mean, we live in an increasingly cashless society.
We really do.
You tap your phone or your watch to buy a coffee. I legitimately cannot remember the last time I had a physical $20 bill in my wallet. So if you show up to a wedding and suddenly the DJ announces a money dance, what happens when 80% of the room only has Apple Pay?
You would think that this societal shift would completely erase a deeply traditional, heavily physical custom like this. A ritual that relies entirely on paper money pinning really shouldn't survive the digital age.
Right. It seems impossible.
But couples are finding incredibly ingenious workarounds. They are fundamentally upgrading the mechanics of the dance.
Wait, how do you digitally replicate the physical act of pinning money?
By embedding the digital solution directly into the physical environment, couples are now incorporating technology right onto the dance floor.
What, like iPads?
Well, we are seeing elegant, custom-designed signs with QR codes placed right at the edge of the floor. Some brides are even having a custom QR code printed directly onto that protective bridal sash we talked about earlier.
Hold on. Are you saying a guest can walk up, do a quick dance with the bride, and then just scan her dress with their smartphone to send an e-transfer?
That is exactly what is happening.
That is wild. It completely solves the problem. It allows a cashless guest to participate seamlessly without breaking the flow of the party.
And we are also seeing stations set up near the DJ booth with tablets for digital tipping. But this cashless evolution has also sparked a deeper reinvention on a values level. Because once you digitize the money, it changes the optics of the tradition.
What do you mean by the optics?
Well, think back to your original pushback. The idea that it feels like a cash grab. When couples are older, maybe they already own a home or they're well established in their careers, taking cash from their friends can feel socially awkward.
Yeah, the dynamic changes.
But they still want the interactive joy and the cultural connection of the dance.